The world's leading economies battling to contain the coronavirus and reopen their countries to business activity. Nation branding has never been more relevant for now. Is South Africa geared for future economic activity as a nation brand? To give us more, we speak now via Skype to Tshepiso Malele. She is the marketing manager, or rather he is the marketing manager apologies for that, Tshepiso, at Brand South Africa, about nation branding in the context of COVID-19. Tshepiso, a very good morning to you. Thanks for mangling your agenda there. But let's talk about nation branding, what it's really about.
Thank you. Good morning. Nation branding is the practice of proactively managing one's country brand in a way that enables the country to achieve its strategic objectives. So effectively, it's about managing the reputation and the way in which our country is seen so that we don't leave it up to individuals and business people and other audiences abroad to formulate their own opinion, possibly based on inaccurate information.
So, in terms of ranking, where did South Africa rank when we went into this pandemic, and how are we looking now?
So, the South African nation brand occupies a respectable position by various measures, and there are various ways in which we measure our nation brand performance. Some measures are qualitative, others are actual rankings where independent organizations compare how each country ranks in terms of various measures. So from a qualitative perspective, as things stand now amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, South Africa has really been decisive in the way that it's dealt with this pandemic. It's really sought to instill confidence, not only amongst its people, but amongst our peers on the African continent. Now, it has been controversial, we do know about it, but decisiveness has been important in that this is a crisis that has been unprecedented. And if you look at the way in which society and business and civil society leaders in general have responded to the measures taken thus far, it can be agreed that we have managed to minimize the infections of this coronavirus. However, we now need to make sure that we look forward and we see what role the nation brand can play in repositioning us as a country as we emerge into a world that's a lot more competitive, competing for resources, competing for business, as well as investment in a post-COVID-19 economic crisis. So that is why it's very important for us to utilize the strength of this nation brand, move forward and try and rebuild our economy.
We've seen since the beginning of this process of fighting the pandemic, Brand SA, in terms of local messaging, has been asking South Africans to play their part. How can this be done?
Yes, certainly. So this situation requires every single person in this country to play their part in whichever way they can. So from a business perspective, there are things that business can do. Civil society, we've seen, for example, the South African Council of Churches contributing to the efforts of communicating and making sure that everybody understands what the situation we're dealing with and the actions that they've taken, the individual to contribute positively. We've seen ordinary South Africans who've actually gone out and contributed to efforts such as gathering food and distributing food to those who are in need. So there's a role that everybody can play. And as you mentioned, Play a Part is one of the Brand South Africa's programs that we run. And through that program, we encourage every single person who is able to contribute one way or another through the resources that they have, through the time that they have, or even financial resources if that's what they have at hand, in order to pull together and build the country from within so that we can emerge as a stronger country and as a stronger nation brand that will be able to compete against all other countries around the world to attract business and investment for the betterment of the economy.
So as we wrap up our conversation, as we speak to South Africans in the main and encourage them to get through this time, what sort of messaging are we beyond the play your part messaging? What can we say to South Africans about, especially looking forward to the post-COVID time in terms of the South African brand?
I think, first of all, we need to ensure that whatever efforts we've put in terms of getting used to maintaining the appropriate hygiene practices, social distancing, all of those will need to continue long after the lockdown. So even once we get back to our regular workplaces and our social environment, we need to ensure that we continue these practices so that we continue to minimize the risk of contracting this virus. We also need to send a message that says we all now need to put in extra efforts to make sure that we become productive, we work hard, we rebuild our economy, and we make sure that we play a productive role, not only in business, but in society in general. And let us not forget to help those around us in whichever way that we can. We have to rebuild our economy, and we must make sure that over the coming months and years, we all work in unison to achieve that common objective.
Tshepiso Malele, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Mr. Malele is from Brand SA.